Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the mysteries behind Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 1, Owl Post.
Oh, little change up there on the intro.
A little bit. I considered going back to secrets, but I was like, you know what? We may as well just, change it up for each book.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I love it. Although we're going to get to like book 7 and be like, okay, now we need to go to synonyms.com.
I know. Like, how many synonyms are there for secrets or mysteries or whatever? Yeah.
Yes. The issue we ran into immediately after book 1 was we were using secrets, and then it was Chamber of Secrets, and it was like, well, that sounds wrong.
Yeah, I can't say the secrets in the Chamber of Secrets. I mean, that's too much of the same word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So elephant in the room.
Elephant in the room is that you may notice, if you're watching us, that we are not live from Boston as we should be. Now.
Yeah, like if you look across the top of my book, it says on chapter 1, page 1, it says live in Boston, which did in fact happen.
It did happen. We have just, as we're recording this, we have finished the first leg of our Through the Griffin tour. We've done the first 3 chapters in Boston, New York, and Philly. And we got back. We were so excited. It was so amazing. Like, meeting everyone out there was great. And we were like, not only that, we've got all 3 episodes filmed.
I know.
And we have gotten back, and we have the video from Boston, but they have not sent us the audio, or else the audio on the video just isn't there. Ethan has been like dissecting and deconstructing that file for like over a day, and we cannot extract anything from it.
Any audible sound.
Let me tell you, we have been blowing them up, and if and when we do get the audio from the Boston show, we will upload that as well.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But in the meantime, we're like, we need to upload an episode for the listeners, because we're going to get to chapter 2 where they won't have anything.
Exactly.
I know.
Yep.
So sadly, this episode is not the live recording from Boston. I am repping a Boston sweatshirt. Proof that we were there. It was so much fun. We went to Fenway. We went to TD Gardens, which Celtics up 2-0 right now. Whatever. No big deal.
There you go. Yeah. Beautiful. For the people listening, like 2027.
I know.
Like, 2-0 when?
2-0 when? What do you mean when? When the next dynasty started.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so no, I'm super excited to dive in, because of all the times for this particular occasion to happen, it was chapter 1. Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yes.
Really just a delightful chapter for us to kind of delve into here as we launch into a new book. As per always, or at the very least still, I think by order of the Phoenix, the like first chapter information dump, like, hey, just in case you randomly decided to pick up book 3 and start there.
Right, or in case you only read Chamber of Secrets once, and it's been a year and a half before the next book came out.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of, I was worried, like, when I was like, oh, this will be so fun. We're going to start Prisoner of Azkaban with our live shows. It's going to be so cool. And then like, I'm like reading the chapter, like, in the van as we're like driving around on like the way to the venue and stuff. And I'm like, oh goodness. Okay. We're recapping a fair bit of information.
It's hopefully, a recap chapter.
Hopefully we have a show.
Yeah, totally. But don't worry. We totally did. Boston was great. It was a blast. I'm so looking forward to DC later this week.
I know it's going to be so much fun. Yep.
Going to be great.
Anyway, live shows, super fun. Thank you guys for coming out. But without any further ado, let's dive on in.
Let's dive on into Owl, or even as we are on a new book. We can talk about the cover art.
Oh, we can indeed.
We have the 20th anniversary American editions. Paperback, in case you're wondering.
Paperback, yeah. So the thing that immediately strikes me about this cover, because I do in fact love it, is that Harry is not on it.
Yeah, well, I think that's his hand down there in the corner.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
But you're right.
Good point.
Yeah, we're at book 3. We're like, Harry, get him off the cover. Don't need him anymore.
Right. Yeah, but like 25% of the page, we've got Hermione with her time turner. We got some really cool, like very scary looking Dementors in there. We got some snake skin.
I don't know what the snake skin is supposed to be for.
I was literally I was saying that as if like if this was like an obvious obvious, like, but I think I'm just hailing back to Chamber of Secrets, which also kind of had this like snakeskin woven through. So maybe that's just general presence.
I know, it's just sort of like, Voldemort's not there, but he's sort of like, he's like always present.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you can see Sirius Black on there. I would say a lot of times I don't like on Prisoner covers when they show the Patronus as like the thing, because it feels spoilery. But because Harry's not on it, and because you don't like necessarily even know that Patronuses take animal forms until the very end, I don't think it is spoilery.
That's a good point. And maybe that's the reason that Harry's been excluded from this particular cover. Because, you're right. It's like there's a hand reaching out and there's a stag clearly front and center. I mean, it's like where your eyes go when you look at the cover there. But no Harry. So maybe that's the reason, because it's like, well, at some point in time, Harry's going to cast a really big
Patronus, and if you know that's there, you might be like, oh, well, I know what's coming.
I know what's coming. Yeah. Okay. We've reasoned through it.
It makes sense. I will say maybe the time turner is spoilery, because there's a bunch of like, what's Hermione doing in this book, and she's sort of like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you might not know it's a time turner.
That's
until
true.
You've heard the terms. So in the meantime, it's just like strange hourglass pendant thing.
Yeah, it might not even obviously be an hourglass if you don't already know.
That's a good point.
But of course we do, so I can't not see it.
It's spoiler for me, but I've read the book 50 times.
Exactly. So come on, everything's given away here.
Right.
Anyway, now we could jump into chapter 1 now, Owl Post, which I think the chapter art is fine for. It's just a bunch of owls delivering Harry his mail for his birthday.
Yeah, I like this one. There's like some twinkly stars, a nice little crescent moon up there.
It feels like a good, like, you're back in the magical world. Welcome back to Harry Potter. Here's some owls.
Right.
Yeah.
Owl Post is like a title that I almost feel like every book, it'd be like a little Easter egg. Like I could almost see a world where like every book has a chapter titled Owl Post.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been neat?
Yes. Because there's always a time.
There's always a time. Like, in book 1, it feels like it would absolutely be like
the letters from no one.
The letters from no one. Yeah. It could be like Owl Post.
Could be called Owl Post.
What would you do in Chamber of Secrets? Like the Howler, maybe?
Oh yeah. You could do the Howler. That could be one.
Yep.
And then I think there's one in Order of the Phoenix called like Padfoot and Percy or something.
Oh,
yeah, that's where they get the letters from Padfoot and Percy.
Padfoot and Percy.
Yeah.
Is that the one where Percy's being like a total dweeb?
He's being like, Dolores Umbridge, a truly lovely lady here at the Ministry of Magic.
Bad take, Percy.
Take heed of her words, Harry.
Right.
Don't listen to that Dumbledore folk guy. He seems awful sketch.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though he made me head boy last year.
I've looked up to him for most of my life, but now I don't.
Yeah,
so that could be your Owl Post for that one. Anyway, so just a fun little re-intro back into the wizarding world. The opening line is kind of it sets up for like the closing line, so that's why I think it's worth putting some emphasis on it. But we've got Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than any other time of year.
Yeah. So it's just reminding you that Harry is at Privet Drive again, and just a different kind of kid.
Just a different kind of kid, yeah. And again, I know I harp on it all the time. This is just again a re-emphasis on just how miserable life is at the Dursleys.
Yep.
And why I think that there's a lot of this is kind of used, and even I would say between chapters 1 in this book and chapter 2, where chapter 1 is like delightful and happy and upbeat and like you feel good about things, and then chapter 2, Aunt Marge arrives and it is just the worst.
Yeah, like this chapter, he's had like a maybe a boring, kind of a miserable couple of weeks, but like nothing out of the ordinary at this point.
Right.
And it's like, and then he gets these letters, and it's like, you know what? It's gonna be okay. These will get me to the end of the summer, and then it's like, wait, Aunt Marge is coming?
Oh no.
Oh no.
That will get me out of this place.
That will get me out of this place, possibly forever.
Possibly forever.
Yeah, but I like the sentence at the end of it. It's like it says he really wanted to do his homework, but he was forced to do it in secret in the dead of night. Oh, and also he happened to be a wizard. Yeah, just like let me just throw that in there. Nice little afterthought.
Right. Yeah. For those people who bought the book at the airport because they were like, I need something to read on this plane. They're like, oh, he's a wizard.
Oh, magic.
How about that? Yeah. But I think it's kind of fun because he's underneath the covers by flashlight, reading a large leather-bound book, A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. I just think that's kind of fun because it's like he's reading a book that was written by his own former neighbor.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know.
it's fascinating
If
to think
only.
like if he had never left Godric's Hollow, it's like, is there a world where he like would be doing his summer? I mean, he'd probably be much more unwilling to be doing his summer homework, but he could like literally go over to the bag shots and just have been like, hey, can you help me?
I suspect this particular brand of homework would be super easy because you have to imagine then like Harry just grows up with 10 years of just like, Auntie Bathilda coming over.
Yeah,
and,
right,
just
right.
like spinning him stories and stuff.
He's just like a pro.
He's just like a pro. It feels like it'd just sort of like be effortless kind of thing. Because like it was always effortless for James to do all of his homework and stuff.
That's true.
That's
true.
Like just like, oh yeah, knocked it out, easy, no big deal. I do. Okay, so on that note though, even though he's reading History of Magic, which I think it's funny that he's going into his third year and using his same year one textbook.
Yeah, right. Like this, when it comes to wizarding texts, you almost have to like wonder if they're just like they're so dense.
Yeah.
Like it would almost be like possessing like a dictionary. It's like you're not reading all of it. It's just sort of like,
I mean, I don't think I read all of any textbook I ever owned.
You know what?
Yeah.
Good point.
You know what? It occurs to me that maybe that's what you're supposed to have done by the end of the year, but
but not me.
not me.
Not me. There was my worst part about reading textbooks in high school was just literally that it'd like go home and read chapter 1, and so I would stare and read every word inside of my head and comprehend none of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen to
Yeah.
me. It was just like it's so drab and so not interesting. I
Right.
would say in college I was a little better about it. I was like,
Well, you're a little more tuned in.
You're a little more tuned in. You spent money on these books,
Right. Yeah. But like when it comes to like wizarding text, it's like, well, this just seems like fun. I just
I
want to
know,
know.
right?
I want to know more.
I know.
Yeah.
But okay, so it seems like Harry would be working on homework for History of Magic based on the fact that that's the book, A History of Magic.
Right.
But we all know that class is taught by the world's most boring professor, Professor Binns, and like the title of the essay or the topic is which burning in the 14th century was completely pointless. Discuss. Like it's too whimsical and fun to be like Binns,
Right. Yes. So whose class is this actually for if
Right.
it's not going to be Professor Binns?
Right, because I think I'm going to throw it out there. I think it is a charms essay.
You think Flitwick?
Instead, because it is more about the charms that make it pointless.
Oh yeah, good point.
right,
That's a
yes,
good point. Yes,
right.
because that's like so. What we'll find out like in the next page is that they cast the witch or wizard would perform a basic flame freezing charm and then
Yes.
pretend to shriek with pain while enjoying a gentle tickling sensation.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So it's a charms thing.
It's a charms thing, I think,
Right.
and it's kind of like here's a historical application of this charm,
Right.
And like maybe when it was used the most, and this is the kind of that feels like if you're teaching charms, maybe you'd want to add some context behind like why the spell came into usage and stuff.
That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's not just learning the spell itself. It's like learning the application and when and where it could be useful.
Yeah. And like
that makes sense.
Flitwick's definitely more whimsical than Binns.
Yeah. Well, he most certainly is.
Absolutely.
What does Lockhart call him? A sly dog?
The sly dog. Look, man, how much can we bring up Lockhart in not Chamber of Secrets?
I know, yeah.
Is the question.
New objective.
New
for Prisoner.
objective. Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously going to be doing that. I do like, so we get a little blurb from the book. I think this is just funny. The first sentence reads, non-magic people, more commonly known as muggles, were particularly afraid of magic in medieval times, but not very good at recognizing it. It's just like, that is like it's very slyly done, but that sentence, like more commonly known as muggles, like Bathilda Bagshot would not be including that identifier to a wizard reader this deep into her textbook.
Right. Yeah. At bare minimum, even if it is a rather thick text, Harry is now going into his third year. So
Yeah.
maybe on page 1, you see this fragment of text where it's like,
Right.
it's like maybe if you've only ever lived in the wizarding world and you've never interacted with non-magical people, possibly it's a term that you need to be like introduced to, but not this far.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely
yeah,
not. So this is definitely there for us, the reader, not Harry, the reader.
Yes.
But
Yep. I agree with that.
Nonetheless, but what I also think is really interesting about this particular passage here is that they're talking about, we know that the essay takes place or is supposed to be discussing the 14th century, so the 1300s. And it's saying the witch or wizard would perform a basic flame freezing charm and then pretend to shriek with pain. So what's interesting though is that like witches and wizards need not fear this, but we know Hogwarts was founded 1,000 years ago. So at this point, Hogwarts would have been around for a while.
Right.
So this like paragraph is sort of like, look, it's working. Like the knowledge is starting to spread to the magical community. Like whatever it was founded for, like now people are educated now.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. So now it's like less of a struggle. But
right.
you know, the other thing that I think is kind of fascinating about it as well is like, as per always, we always want like additional context about like our founders. And this
of
is
course
still,
we do.
You know, taking place a few hundred years after their particular time. But this medieval like belief system about the wizarding populace by the non-magical populace during this particular era, I think is a great amount of like cannon fodder for what the Founder Saga is going to be all about, or what it would be all about, which is like the struggle that they are dealing with by sort of like being communityless, which it sounds like really like what Hogwarts was genuinely doing was creating sort of the underground that the wizarding world exists in to the current day.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I mean, they're like laying the groundwork for like, y'all, it's starting to become a problem, these witch burnings and whatnot, and we don't know, like, people don't know how to do this particular charm.
Right.
We need a place for them to go to learn.
Right. It's like we have these powers, but no one really knows how to use them. Like it's just what you can figure out on your own.
Exactly.
Yeah. Enter founders traveling around the countryside, adventuring from town to town, saving lives and doing stuff and learning skills from people who figured stuff out, but collecting it in one spot and then founding a castle where everyone can feel safe.
Exactly.
It's
almost like you've given this a huge amount of thought.
Just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Sounds super fun. That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I also tend to imagine that this is like what Salazar Slytherin's actual beef with the non-magical population is.
Yeah.
It's not that he actively discriminates against them so much as he is more like they want to kill us.
Right, I know.
It's like,
it sounds like because you're 1,000 years in the future and you're like, what a bad take, and it's like, well, it's not necessarily like I think pure blood wizards are better than half-blood wizards. It's just that when the Muggles know what we are, they kill us.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should maybe mix with them as much.
Right.
It's a very Magneto, Professor Xavier.
I see. Yeah,
approach.
From X-Men.
X-Men's like, no, we should create harmony between these people, and Slytherin's like, that's not going to work.
at least maybe not yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But you could see. Yeah. I mean, that's basically exactly the same thing
right.
going on here.
So kind of big premise alert going on there.
Yeah.
We also get a little bit of trivia because the witch that is the prime example that is given in this particular like a piece of text that we get is Wendelin the Weird.
Wendelin the Weird. Yes.
Which is definitely like one of those names that I'm going to do my absolute darndest. This feels like a great one to like ask people like future times you see us in the future, quiz us on, be like, hey, do you remember who the witch was? And how many times was she burned? Like, but actually, even that almost trick question. Oh, almost, yeah, because it says
47 here.
Okay.
But if you were to get like a chocolate frog card in like a video game, it would say 14.
Oh.
I know. So it's like, I don't know if there was just like a typo or something. I'm going to go with 47 as the more canonical answer.
I feel like if you can open up your books app and search Wendelin the Weird and prove to the person that the number 47 is right there, that needs
that pretty much,
I think that's like basically like, okay.
Yeah.
Lawyered
Pottered 47 times.
Yeah, love it.
There you go. Kablamp. There you go. That's Wendelin the Weird. But then we get back down to some description of the Dursleys. They were Muggles. They had a very medieval attitude toward magic. So, which I think is funny because you're like immediately putting that comparison to use from like a paragraph ago.
Yes. And this is like one of those moments though where I like to think that the Dursleys themselves are just more like they are archaic, and that the rest of the non-magical population has not subscribed to this medieval attitude in the same capacity. It's like the Dursleys are really the just
they're never really described as having other Muggle friends.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. Yeah, it's like it's almost like they can't see the writing on the wall because like they are trying so hard to be like normal, which you'd think would include being like friendly
Yes.
with other people. Like, you know, if they're so dedicated to this like extremely normal looking life, like so like if it was like normal people have friends, you know, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
typically.
Right. Well,
like
the Masons came over that one time.
well, that was a work thing.
I think they're probably
they just
not
wanted to
coming
go that vacation home.
yeah, in Majorca.
Yeah, in Majorca. Otherwise, apparently, all they know was Marge. I know.
Not a good person to know.
Not a good person to know.
Yeah.
Or maybe a Colonel Phelpster.
Well, there's that.
There is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't seem like delightful company. Is basically
Yeah.
my general take on the situation.
Right. So then, let's see. We have. It says, these days they lived in terror of anyone finding out that Harry had spent most of the last 2 years at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which, like, okay, fine. But their solution is to tell people that he is going to St. Brutus's Secure Center for Criminally Incurable Boys. Is that right?
I think
Did
you
I get it
got
right?
it.
Okay, I'm like,
that's another piece of trivia that I will never get
I
correct.
know. It is
Yeah.
such a long mouthful of a title. But, like, my beef with this solution on the Dursleys part is that, like, how is that better?
I know. Yeah, it's like you're like describing it to your friends apparently if they have them.
Yeah.
And it's like where do they go to school? And it's like art. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely walking away from that conversation being like those Dursleys, such good caregivers,
Such
to
good people.
their orphan nephew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to know whether or not it's like a made up place in the book. Like, it obviously doesn't exist in real life.
Right.
But it's
right.
like, did they make it up in the story? Or like, you know, or
Right.
or is it
So-
like, or is it canonically a real place?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'd be in the 90s, so like even if like they tell Marge about it, it's not like she's gonna like Google it, you know, like with her smartphone.
Yeah, right. Like, oh yeah, I'm looking it up. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it could be. It'd be easy to like just fake it.
It's easier to lie.
It's easier to lie in the 90s, you know, right? Yeah.
It's harder to fact check.
I feels made up to me because if they're Secure Center for Criminally Incurable Boys, like if they're like, it's a dumb name because incurable means like there's nothing we can do.
right. It's like,
Yeah.
so what is
Why
the
would you send them there?
objective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
What are we
objective?
hoping? What are we
Yeah.
hoping is the outcome here?
Right.
No, it's an extremely good point.
Yeah. Anyway, here we
Yeah.
go.
So anyway, then as we move forward, we find out that the Dursleys have taken all of Harry's spellbooks, wand, cauldron, and broomstick, and locked them in the cupboard under the stairs where Harry used to live. But like, fortunately, Harry was able to, while the Dursleys were out showing off their brand new car in very loud voices.
Oh, very
the
loud
rest of
voices,
the
yeah.
street would notice. Harry was able to creep downstairs and pick the lock on the cupboard under the stairs. I love this little detail though because it's just like a neat little throwback because obviously you know that Harry has his book, so it's like he was able to get them and he can't use magic because his wand would be inside of the cupboard, and so like there's no way to do that. But the big thing that happened last year is that when Fred and George come by, they themselves have learned how to pick locks.
Yes.
And it's sort of like they talk about like, you know, how it's a useful skill or whatever. So I sort of love the idea that Fred and George in like the Gryffindor common room are giving like little seminars.
Little lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like lock picking.
Lock picking.
Come tune in at 7. And,
Exactly.
you know, so
Do
it's
you
like,
live with Muggle parents?
right. Well, we can help.
We can help.
It seems like the type of activity where they would charge like a Knut for the class or something.
Right.
You know, this is how they're harvesting their 37 galleons that they can eventually
Very slowly.
You know, bet,
very slowly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Bet to Ludo Bagman.
Yeah, right. There we go. And then it says, like, as long as Harry didn't leave spots of ink on the sheets, the Dursleys never need know he was studying magic by night. And it's like, to me, it's like, even if he didn't have homework, I feel like this would still be the best way to spend your time.
Yes.
Like, if you are removed, like, if all you have is your textbooks, like, if this was me, and all I had left from school for presumably 8 weeks was my textbooks, like, as boring as they might be, like, that I would read them all.
Oh, yes.
Like, I mean, what else do you have to do?
I know. Yeah, that's like the real thing is that, like, you know, studying wouldn't be so bad if there weren't just so many other really fun things to do.
Exactly.
You know, but it's like if that was the only form of entertainment, I'd be like, yeah, give me that book.
Yeah, I know. Come on, I can learn about magic.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's way better than literally anything in this house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's good. But then we get the phone call from Ron, who tries to call the Dursleys, which is just great. I love the sentence, most unluckily it had been Uncle Vernon who answered the phone, because I'm like, who was was he hoping was going to answer who would be the lucky person to have answered the phone, you know?
I suppose just Harry.
Just Harry, which it doesn't feel like he'd be allowed to do that.
Maybe not,
Yeah.
out of fear of being like, hello, magical person speaking. Oh, darn it.
Oh, man. Harry!
I let it slip up again.
I just can't not say it, you know?
Just tip of the tongue all the
People
time.
hear me, yeah.
You know, I do love this because it's the way that the story is told. This is not a very common thing that happens, but it's almost like a cutscene inside of the story. So we basically get the setup that Ron, who comes from a wizarding family and doesn't know how to use the phone, calls. And then it cuts to Vernon Dursley speaking.
Yes. And then Ron just responding, hello! Hello, can you hear me? I want to talk to Harry Potter! And then I love that, unbeknownst to himself, like Ron, you know, he's on the other end. He has no idea how to do this. He's yelling into the receiver, like, should I yell? What do you think? Should I yell?
Right.
Will they be able to hear me?
I can almost just imagine like Arthur sitting at the phone next to him, like just delighted at this particular
like,
occasion.
bravo,
He's like,
bravo, Ronald.
yeah, he's like, do I yell? And like Arthur's like giving like a thumbs up, like, yeah,
do it. And then
we're so far away.
I know. Yeah, we're so far away. How could they possibly hear us? And then like Vernon yells back, like, who is this? And it's like on the other end, it's like, yeah, yelling is how you do it.
Yelling,
we got it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Loud and clear.
Louder back. Let's do it.
Yes.
So he like accidentally validates Ron's misuse of the telephone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ron Weasley, I am a friend of Harry's from school.
There we go.
Yeah.
I know that.
You can just imagine.
Yeah, a conversation doesn't go well, but I love how it ends where Vernon says, I don't know what school you're talking about. Never contact me again. Don't you come near my family. Because literally 1 year from now, Arthur and Ron and Fred and George are going to come bursting out of the fireplace. So you said don't come near. We're coming right in.
Right inside.
Very
Directly
intrusive.
we have connected your very non-magical home to the Flute Network.
I know. And like there is later in, I think, Half-Blood Prince, where Harry's like, why don't we just operate inside the house we're going to? And Dumbledore's like, well, that would be very poor manners, Harry.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like the Dursleys are like, you know, the Weasleys are like, what if we just don't even tell them we're connected into the Flute Network and barge in?
Right, yes. On some level, I mean, I'm not siding with them, but you can kind of see where the Dursleys might have some serious beef with the way that the Weasleys have, you know, like ripped, the bars from Harry's bedroom and a flying car and, you know.
I know. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Molly and Arthur even say like we were going to go get him ourselves, and it's like they probably were going to do about the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even like that Dumbledore acknowledges that it would be such poor manners to just barge into someone's living room makes me feel like maybe Fred and George are getting a little more from Arthur than we ever realized.
Oh, maybe so.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, this is gonna be hilarious.
It's gonna be fine.
We'll just hook it up. It's fine. Because even when they bring the car back, he's like, did you really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's just Arthur. Like, I think it's probably like his own enthusiasm towards the Muggle populace is so great that I'm sure he just assumes that the way that Muggles will feel is the same way.
Right.
And so it's
magic.
Just like, right. Yeah. Like, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
To show each other our things and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Not so much. But so then after this particular phone call, it does say that Hermione Granger hadn't been in touch either. Harry suspected that Ron had warned Hermione not to call, which is a phone conversation that I would love to imagine where basically Ron gets off the phone with Vernon. He's like, that did not go well. And then immediately picks up the phone to call Hermione. He's like, Hermione, do not call.
Ron, why are you yelling?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what went wrong.
I think I get it now. I think I get it now.
Hermione's just like,
now we don't get to talk to Harry.
I know. And it still seems like Hermione could have. It sounds like Hermione hadn't been in touch either, which is like, even like Hermione hasn't sent a single owl in like 4 weeks, even before this.
Well,
I guess she doesn't have an owl. We're gonna learn.
She doesn't have an owl, and while Hedwig is allowed to go out at night, it kind of seems like there's like a little bit of like not to be used for wizard mail type of caveat to it. I think more than anything, this is just another one of those occasions where it's like it's better if Harry's isolated, because if he's just having a jolly good time on his own, you know, then Like,
Yeah.
you know, if he can just communicate with his friends, like the Dursleys, isn't that bad.
Right, yeah,
And
right.
The Dursleys has to be bad.
Right. Then studying is also out the window. It's just like, I'm just going to owl text my friends all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Owl text.
Exactly.
Hedwig is like, I am exhausted.
I am
You have to
exhausted.
send longer notes.
Yeah, longer notes.
Ron, what's up? Hedwig is like, no.
Nope. More than that.
You will include more information.
More than that.
Yeah.
Harold. That's not his name. There's also just this funny thing here where we're learning more about Harry's isolation. It says, so Harry had had no word from any of his wizarding friends for 5 long weeks. To which I'm like, Harry, how long does it take you to write these essays, man?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like, you've been up there for 5 weeks and you're still writing this history of magic essay? Or charms essay, I guess, maybe?
Almost certainly.
Like, dude, hurry up.
Yeah.
You have nothing else to do.
I know. It does seem like he'd be making truly tremendous progress on this particular endeavor.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but maybe it's just really difficult, or maybe they just had like tons of homework and he's just
Yeah.
now getting to this particular assignment.
Yeah. It also seems like, though, like, I don't know how they could be expecting an entire essay on how witch burning was completely pointless when it just sounds like the entire essay is the witch or wizard would perform a basic flame freezing charm. And
Yes. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's like, what all else is there to say?
I know.
Although sometimes I had this issue with essays anyway, where
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like, if you've given me the premise for the essay, then what more do you need from me?
I know.
To prove it to you?
To prove it to you. That's basically what they're doing. I say this as if we often don't make theories where we could basically sum it up in like 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
You need a lot of context.
You do.
know?
You do. You got to
Yeah.
lay the groundwork.
I'll lay the groundwork.
Maybe I didn't learn how to write a research paper until we became adults and started making fan theories for a
Oh, I
living.
know. I know. I'm like, if I was in 9th grade again and they were like, write a research paper about Atlantis and why it could be real, I'd be like, oh, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll have it to you in an hour.
Hold my butterbeer.
Hold my butterbeer. I can make up a ton of crap about Atlantis. Not make up, but
Research.
I can research a bunch of stuff on Wikipedia, which people are also, you can't sort. So, like, this sentence was missing from every English class I ever had. Like, you can't use Wikipedia as a source, but what you can do, what you should do, just scroll down to the bottom where they've cited their works and click on that.
Yes.
Because, like, that, using the works cited on Wikipedia has taught me more about works cited than the actual act of making them.
No, yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like,
oh,
that's what's
that's why I
happening.
can believe this information. That makes sense. I get it.
Yes. It's like,
not just some annoying chore you're making me do at the end. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, here we are. Big realizations at
I
age
know.
34 and 36. Look at us go.
Poor works-cited education is all I'm saying.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get back on track here. Harry's been allowed to let Hedwig out, and let's see, we find out that Harry's birthday is happening now, and that he's been 13 for 1 hour, and he is, let's see, it says he never received a birthday card in his life, which year 3 is kind of starting to be like, wait, what?
I know. Yeah, it's almost like a fascinating thing to have realized while writing is probably true, because during year 1 there was no.
Well, the summer up to it, yeah, there still would have been nothing.
Yeah, like there would
Yeah.
have been. Yeah, so we are 3 books in, but at the beginning of the 3rd book. So obviously going into year 1, he didn't meet any new friends yet, so there was nobody to send him a card. Why would nobody? Go ahead.
Why would no one have done it the
In
last
chamber?
year?
Yeah.
Because Dobby's stopping them.
Oh, because Dobby's stopping him.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
So
yeah.
people are attempting to send
So
them. Yes.
presumably people sent him cards, he just never got them.
Right.
Which kind of then makes you realize like Dobby stopped all those letters and then still never gave them to Harry.
Yeah, come on, Dobby.
Come on, Dobby.
It's like,
It's for Harry Potter's own good, sir.
right. Hopefully nobody sent him like a really cool broom servicing kit that year.
I know, right? Like one of these gifts, Dobby's just like, oh, these are wonderful presents. Dobby's life at Malfoy Manor is much better. Probably not.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I doubt
Hard
it.
to improve
I
that
love the
life.
idea that Dobby just had like a small store of chocolate frogs for like a week.
Yeah. It's like, I like this plan.
Yeah. I'm just stealing mail all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Dobby.
Oh my goodness. I love how Harry is hoping Hedwig is going to come back. He just mentions that she was the only living creature in the house who didn't flinch at the sight of him. He's just like, just another reminder that like, can you imagine walking into every room and everyone's like, huh.
No, I honestly can't. Like, it seems like it is more effort, in my personal opinion, for the Dursleys to dislike Harry than it would just be to like him. because
Yes.
he is like also not like a very difficult person to communicate with. Like it's not like
Right.
he's overly chatty or like wants to get all
Right.
up in their business or something. Like it just seems like being amicable would be fine.
Right. Even just tolerating him, which it feels like that's like the lowest bar, and it feels like they're going out of their way to almost like not tolerate him.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, if you just let him be in the house, you don't even have to talk to him.
Right.
You know, but like you're right. Ignoring him would be easier than like reacting to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing too, is that it's like there's no part of me, because I think that they have like decided obviously on this prejudice rather than like actually feel it to their core. So like I don't think that they are like genuinely being like, oh man, Harry walked into the room, that scared me.
Yeah.
Like it's like, no, I don't think so. I think you're doing it to be mean.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
takes you more energy to do this than
I
it would
agree.
be to not do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
We get to mention that a reminder about how Harry's parents died, not in a car crash,
Right.
but they were murdered by the most feared dark wizard for 100 years, Lord Voldemort, which makes me wonder, like, who was it before 100 years, you know?
I know, yeah, that does actually like lay some rather interesting groundwork for like a saga that takes place in the like 19th century.
Yeah.
Like maybe like a Percival Dumbledore type
Oh.
of situation, because it seems like, you know, he seemed like an interesting character.
Yeah.
But we never like get like a lot of backstory to what's going on with him.
Yeah,
or
what's
like
going on there.
what his importance is and stuff.
Yeah,
So
don't know what's going on there. That is sort of the time frame when like Hogwarts Legacy is taking place.
okay.
Yeah, but that, like, I think the villain in there is like one of the goblins, not like a wizard, or maybe that changes by the end of the story. I don't know.
Haven't gotten there yet.
Haven't gotten to the end yet, but
Yeah.
that is the time frame.
Okay, yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody considered that and they were like, hey, you know what, we should
Yeah.
tell something in the 19th century.
Right there, bam,
there you go.
100 years.
Perfect.
Yep.
But yeah, so then Harry is looking out at the starry sky for a sign of Hedwig, perhaps soaring back to him with a dead mouse dangling from her beak. Ah, can you only imagine?
I know.
Nothing like having a dead mouse just fly right through your window.
And you're just like, boy, am I going to be the star of that bedroom. People are going to be so impressed. What?
But what then Harry does end up seeing is a strangely lopsided creature. It was flapping in Harry's direction. And what he is in fact seeing is 3 different owls, 2 of whom are holding up the third. They fly into the window where they then land on with a soft flump on Harry's bed.
It's exactly the right word. Great use of the word flump.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
Flump.
I highlighted it and I was like, I can just imagine 3 owls crashing into a bed. And you
Right.
know what sound it would make? A flump.
A flump, yeah, it would totally be a flump.
It's a flumpy kind of noise.
Right? He's not concerned that this is going to wake up the Dursleys. So he was like, earlier, he's like, the scratching of my quill. And I'm like, how loud? How loud is the scratching
How
of quill?
how loud are
He's going to
quills?
wake someone up?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe just nab a pen.
Yeah, dude, I know. Come on. Like, they have pens. Pens have been invented in the Muggle world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would be like strange at all to like turn in an assignment that was written in pen rather than quill.
Right.
Like, what is this blue ink?
What is this, Potter?
I don't think so.
Why are the lines so thin and consistent?
And not bloody.
Why are they not bloody and smeared and written with a feather?
Yeah.
Anyway, pen, yeah, come on. I mean, unless there's something like about magic that stops pens from working, which would seem remarkable to me.
It would.
I don't know why they stick with quills.
Yeah, I know that seems like an odd one, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay.
I like it for the whimsy.
It is more, quills and ink bottles 1,000 times more whimsical. Yeah.
Yes. When I was a kid, there was almost nothing I wanted more than a fully functioning
Yeah, quill.
ink bottle and quill.
Ink bottle and quill.
I would have just written things.
Right, yeah.
Just for fun.
Think how many just, summer essays. You'd be like, all right, time to just go do some writing.
Yeah, that's what's actually happening. Is on the flip side, instead of being a wizard who's writing in ballpoint pen, I'm a muggle who's writing in quill.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I like it.
But like this is what Muggles did too for a while, and eventually they just moved on. Wizards were like, nah,
We're not adopting that.
we're not adopting
that
that.
newfangled writing instrument.
Nope.
The good news is though, is Harry's got some birthday gifts.
He does have some birthday gifts. Let's see. His first, I love this too. As he's unpacking Ron's package, he says, ripped off the brown paper and discovered a present wrapped in gold, which to me is like, wow. The Weasleys, they get like, because we're going to find out in the letter that they've just won the lottery, and Ron is just like, well, that's it. Time to buy golden wrapping paper.
Golden, I know. But I'm honestly, this to me does speak to just like how kind and nice the Weasleys are. That like, this is maybe not the type of thing that they've historically been able to potentially do.
Yeah.
And now, like, given the opportunity, it's immediately like, oh yeah, we're going gold.
We're going gold.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the description of him opening too, just fingers trembling slightly, like as if like what if this isn't what I think it is or something. Like the nerves of opening your first ever birthday card at 13.
At 13,
Crazy.
I know, it's just absolutely, it's unbelievable to imagine this being a first time experience for somebody. But you would have to imagine it would just be absolutely momentous. But inside of the envelope, 2 pieces of paper fall out: a letter and a newspaper clipping. And
Yes.
this is like one of those details that it's like this newspaper clipping might be the most important single newspaper clipping in the entire story.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really might be. And it's like, it's very cleverly put in this chapter, which is otherwise like a recap chapter.
Yes.
And it's like, it's all, even him getting all of this is still just telling you more about like the Weasleys and stuff like that. So you really do not pay much mind to this. And like the main focus of it is, of course, just that the Weasleys won the lottery.
Yes.
So like you think that's what you're supposed to take away from this whole thing with the newspaper clipping and the picture. Like at no point are you like drawn to the fact that like Ron is holding Scabbers and that's going to be important.
Yes. Yeah.
Like not at all.
It does breeze right past you. It's
Yep.
it's not something that would stand out in any way, shape, or form. But the newspaper clipping, of course, says Ministry of Magic employees scoops grand prize. Arthur Weasley, head of the misuse of Muggle artifacts office at the Ministry of Magic, has won the annual Daily Prophet grand prize galleon draw. A delighted Mr. Weasley told the Daily Prophet, "We will be spending the gold on a summer holiday in Egypt, where our eldest son Bill works as a curse breaker for Gringotts Wizarding Bank." This is kind of like one of those funny ones where it's like, okay, so did they not? Does my memory serve me? Just last Christmas holiday, did they not go visit Bill in Egypt?
They did just go visit Bill in Egypt last Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were like, why not?
We'll just go back.
We'll go
Whole
back.
summer.
We'll bring the whole fam.
Yeah. I'm sure Bill has all the time in the world during his busy workday to entertain his family every day too.
For sure. But yeah, no, I just think that's funny that it's like, okay, and we're going back. We're going back to Egypt.
That feels like a like Dumbledore's big plan sort of like thing where it's like, oh yeah, like Dumbledore's like telling the Weasleys like, why don't you go ahead and get out of the country, because otherwise there's no reason Harry can't stay with you, but we need Harry to stay there because he's safer there because of the bond of blood. So
yes,
out you go.
Nope, that 100% feels like Dumbledore's big plan. It's kind of a situation where like Harry needs to be at the Dursleys, and there's no real good reason for him to not just be at the Weasleys.
Right.
So
they're out of the country.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. So
too bad.
So poor Weasleys are like, we just won a lot of money. We should probably put it in savings. And Dumbledore's like, or family vacay, all expenses paid trip, expenses paid by you with your brand new winnings.
Right. I know. Makes you wonder if he didn't arrange it in some capacity.
Right. Yes. Yes. Dumbledore like pulling the strings at the grand prize draw.
He's like, what happened last year at the school is this family, their daughter got abducted by Voldemort, so maybe we give them a little win. You know what I mean?
We throw them a bone.
We throw them a bone.
Or 700 of them.
Or 700 bones. And then don't worry, I'll just tell them to spend it.
Yeah.
Egypt.
Everything's working out fine.
Everything's going to work
boost
out
the
just
economy.
totally fine. Exactly. In Egypt.
In Egypt, yeah.
Right. But then, of course, included in the letter as well is the picture, Ron tall and gangling with his pet rat Scabbers, and so it begins.
And so it begins.
Man.
Yes. Like so much comes back to this particular image. Because
I know.
Even the fact that it like includes the little detail. The Weasley family will be spending a month in Egypt, returning for the start of the new school year at Hogwarts, where 5 of the Weasley children currently attend. So it's like the details that are being provided to Sirius Black, who is also seeing this exact same newspaper clipping, are like, it's like giving him everything he needs to know.
Right.
One of the interesting details that I do think about this, though, is have we at any point in time, because even now it doesn't specifically say that Scabbers is missing a finger.
Yeah.
Have we ever been told up till now that Scabbers is missing a finger?
I think we have been told it maybe back in Philosopher's Stone.
Okay.
Yeah, like when we first meet Scabbers.
That was one of those details where I was like, when does that actually come up as like a notable feature?
Okay, I guess we can go back and check that. I'm sure it comes up again in this.
Oh, it definitely comes up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's like the tell.
The tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Missing a finger.
Yeah.
Long life for a common garden rat.
Right.
Wouldn't you say?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Even that's like a little thing. Like Ron is later going to be at the Magical Menagerie, and they're like, you can't expect a common garden rat like this to live past 3 years. And it's like, But then why does it live past 12?
Right,
It's been alive
right.
for a really long
So
time.
it's like and that
Yeah.
that is like sirens should be going off. Where,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. It's like I desperately want to know if like we were reading this story now as an adult, and the lens that we do things, would that catch our eye?
I know.
It's like
I know.
because it's like, you know, if like imagine a world where they're like releasing like one chapter at a time, and we're going through each chapter, and like we're doing this podcast, like breaking stuff down, and be like, all right, you guys think it's interesting at all that like that Scabbers is a little bit old for a rat? Like, do we?
Right.
Does that?
Do we
seem-
circle that? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that even highlighted, or is it just sort of like rat? You know, like
Just
whatever.
like, yeah, rat. I mean,
maybe,
like,
maybe it's a mildly magical rat. Who knows?
I know. You'd probably just think it's mildly magical rat, or it's like, you know, it's like, oh, sure, they may only normally live 5 years. This good for Ron. He's lived 12 years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
you
just
know,
taking
it's
really
not
good care of
normal.
it.
You
Yeah.
know, people only normally live to 80, but sometimes they live to like 110. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, it's not exactly like Scabbers is all that interesting. So
Right.
It's, you know, it's not like you might just be like, yeah, he's alive, but he's not doing much.
Yeah.
So it's impressive, but also is it?
I know.
Yeah.
Very, very. But and either way, we're off to the races, and you have to wonder, like, what if, like, the things that have to happen in order for like the plot to happen here are that one, the Weasleys have to win the lottery, already pretty hard.
Yeah.
2, then they have to decide to then whilst in Egypt, they have to get their photo taken as part of them winning the lottery.
Right.
Ron has to have decided to bring Scabbers to Egypt, and Scabbers has to be in the photo.
Right.
All of that has to happen. Then, on the same day, that particular paper has to be with Cornelius Fudge while he is visiting Azkaban.
Yes.
And he, like, Sirius Black has to just happen to ask him for his paper because he misses the crossword, and this is the one he gets.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So-
All of those things have to happen.
So if not for all of those incidents, Sirius Black never decides to break out.
Right. Exactly. But all those things happen.
All
So,
those things do happen.
Here we go.
Yep. What else do we learn here? Inside of Harry's or Ron's letter to Harry. So yeah, we get like the first of the happy birthday. He does say in regards to the phone call with the Dursleys, he says, "I asked Dad, and he reckons I shouldn't have shouted."
Yeah. You think?
This is the line where people are like, no, it says that he asked his dad about whether or not he should shouted, but it says he reckons I shouldn't have shouted, which to me comes with a certain amount of like Arthur being like, maybe we shouldn't have shouted.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
like it's almost like it's not like Arthur knows. He's just like, maybe we did do it wrong.
I know.
Yeah,
well,
that's my
because
feeling.
I mean, like, they don't have a telephone, you know. This was an event.
Right, yeah.
You know, like they had to Ron didn't go into town by himself to do this phone call.
Someone brought him.
You know, Mr. Weasley was there.
Oh, yeah.
He's coaching him. We know Mr. Weasley.
Yes, I'm coaching. He was so excited.
I
is
know.
What happened?
He's like, can I have a try afterwards? Can I talk? Ron, let me talk in the felly tone.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see here. We get a little bit more information. That's where we learn about the 700 galleons, which is another piece of trivia. It's also kind of unbelievable because most of it's gone on this trip, but they're going to buy me a new wand for next year.
God, I hope so.
I know. Poor Ron has definitely had the cards stacked against him for his first 2 years with the wand that he was given from his brother Charlie.
Yep.
That's like the one where it's like when you dig into like the wand lore, it's like that is like the worst wand in the
Yep.
world to be a hand-me-down. But also a 700 galleon trip, man. This must be like they must be really going for it.
I know, like, considering that, like, you know, for me, when I'm considering traveling somewhere like far away, the greatest barrier is often like the plane tickets.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
the cost of travel itself, and like that's just free in the wizarding world.
Okay, well, the
You know?
cost of, just the cost of flu powder at least.
The flu powder or like port key, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
really not that much. So
Right.
I guess they have like a month's worth of lodging, which could add up.
That would add up.
Yeah.
For how many people? Quite a few.
Yeah.
I could.
yeah.
I mean, I could see it. And in a world even like where you want to use the traditional exchange rate of like, I don't know, I can't remember how much it is, but like approximate, is it like $10? You know, like, I mean, $7,000 for this kind of trip with this many people for a whole month, like.
Yeah,
At
that
some
seems
point-
really reasonable.
At
all
some
of a sudden.
point, yeah, it's like, not to you know shake a fist at $7,000 for a vacation or anything like that, but you could start to like math it out. But
right, yeah. If
anyway.
that's indeed the exchange rate, which of course we've dived into many times, and it's very difficult to know.
It is.
It seems like it's a bad exchange rate, but wizards seem to have different values on gold and stuff. So
Right.
the wizard economy is really hard to gauge because they can just do so much by magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's Head's like where the Weasleys don't have a lot of money. It's like it's kind of like it doesn't seem to fully matter in the same way. It's like maybe they don't have like lavish like objects and stuff, but they also seem to be like rather like well cared for.
Right.
You know, like where it counts.
Where it counts.
Which I think is always the point.
That is definitely always the point. Yeah.
But let's see here. So then we will get like a little bit of information. Ron will suggest that they meet up in London to get the new wand and books before school starts. He says, don't let the muggles get you down. And then he also includes, P.S. Percy's head boy. He got the letter last week.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess that's sort of like a random, like, disjointed thing where, like, when Ron and Hermione get their prefect badges, like just comes with the Hogwarts letter.
Yes, in Order of the Phoenix.
In Order of the Phoenix, yeah. So it's like, did the head boy, like, I guess we don't know. We don't see either of them become head boy, but like, would it have come a week earlier or something? You know, Hard to say. Hard to say, but it seems like maybe. But Percy, as ever, just being just the most smug guy in the entire world, is already wearing his head boy badge in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, like, is he just wearing his school uniform too? You know.
Probably. And in addition to his fez.
Into his fez, yes.
Yeah. It really, for some reason, like prefect, I think fits with Percy in a way that totally makes sense to me. Head boy and head girl, for some reason, seem like they would come like with almost more of like a prom king and queen coolness.
Oh,
you know, it's
right.
like you're a good student, you're like a leader within, you know, the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But like prefects seem more like the like a rule enforcing, following, you know, keep justice at not at bay.
Not at bay. Keep justice at bay.
Keep justice at bay. That's Fred and
There
George.
will be no justice here.
None whatsoever. Keep mischief at bay.
Yeah,
is what I'm
I was
going to say.
keep justice at bay. That's like Fred and George's like motto.
Yes, yeah.
Keep justice at bay.
I like it. But yeah, head boy. It's almost, I'm almost like surprised that he's tapped for this one.
It does seem. He takes his prefect duties so seriously. But you're right. Like even like Lupin is a prefect, but then James is head boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. He's got some swag.
Exactly. Got the swag. You know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Turns it around. You know.
Yep.
Maybe it's just like like doing the Weasleys another solid by Dumbledore though. Like, you know what? I like this Weasley family.
They're good peeps.
They're good people.
Yeah.
We'll just, you know, he's watching over Harry. We may as well have extra responsible people around Harry.
That's right. Right. Yep. But then we also get the present from Ron, which is another like little nod that like doesn't make sense until later. It says, Harry, this is a pocket sneakoscope. If there's someone untrustworthy around, it's supposed to light up and spin. Bill says it's rubbish sold for wizard tourists and isn't reliable because it kept lighting up at dinner last night, but he didn't realize Fred and George had put beetles in his soup.
Oh, goodness. Oh, good. It makes you so a couple things. One, it's actually lighting up because Scabbers is there.
Yes.
And Scabbers is the untrustworthy one. And, you know, like the beetles in the soup is just such great cover.
Yes, it is.
But like to me, it's also weird that the pocket sneakoscope doesn't like light up around like the Dursleys.
Oh, sure,
you know?
sure, yeah.
Like they don't seem like great people. But here's my reasoning: is that despite them not being great, they are like. You can trust them to be them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're not untrustworthy.
They're
just
dependably
reliably
them.
awful.
Yes, yes, you can trust them to be awful.
Yes, yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
But it also means they're being quite honest in the way that they're being awful, which makes it worse.
It does make it worse. But like in the case of Peter as the rat, he is constantly lying about being a rat.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. And the sneakoscope knows.
Yeah, the sneakoscope is like on it. Yes.
And I even like the fact that there is like a little piece here, and this is the type of thing that could potentially stand out. Hopefully, maybe if we were super savvy. But Harry pulls it out, and it stands quite still. So that to me does it means something is going on. Like the Beatles, you know, certainly could confuse you a little bit because it would sort of be like, okay, maybe it's just Fred and George, and it seems like the type of thing Fred and George absolutely would
But
do.
you know what, Ben? You can trust them to do that kind of stuff.
You could trust them to do that.
You know, they're reliably untrustworthy.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly
Not
it.
untrustworthy, but just like they're being same thing. They're honest about it.
Right,
you know?
right. Yes.
They're not hiding it.
Right.
Yeah.
They're keeping justice
They're
at
just
bay.
keeping justice at bay. Exactly.
Oh man. So anyway, yep. I love that little nod though. That's always one like on the rereads where it's like, oh, I know what is happening.
I know. That's what. Yeah, you definitely don't catch the first time around. You're not like, wait a minute, who else could it be spinning for? Is it the rat? You know?
It's probably the rat.
I know. If anything, you might have like leftover things for like Percy. I wonder.
I know, yeah.
We were so curious last book. And now he's already being brought up as his head boy.
This is the first time it's occurring to me because in Hermione's letter, which we're going to get to right now, she also brings up in her PS, it says, P.S. Ron says Percy's been made head boy. I'll bet Percy's really pleased. Ron doesn't seem too happy about it.
Yeah.
And so like we just spent all of Chamber of Secrets having this just like over the top red herring situation with Percy, who's just actually got a girlfriend.
Right.
And so it's like, is the inclusion of the Percy head boy situation just sort of like, well, we got to announce this at some point in time, so it's got to go somewhere. Why not here?
Right.
Or is it supposed to be like, once again, like, could it be Percy? It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not Percy. You will not trick me into thinking it's Percy.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he eventually does become kind of a butt.
He does.
Yeah. Anyway, then in Hermione's letter, you get a fun little note about Hedwig, where she wasn't sure how she was going to send him his presents, but then Hedwig turned up. I think she wanted to make sure you got something for your birthday. It's just like, oh, Hedwig!
I know. That is so adorable.
It is!
Hedwig herself as Harry's first ever birthday present as well.
Yes.
Looking out for future birthday presents.
Yeah, it's like, how does she know when Harry's birthday is? Because she was the first present.
She was the first there. It's the day they met.
Oh, that makes it even better.
I know.
Gosh, it's like, that is such a happy thing for Hedwig.
Hedwig just like going above and beyond. And like we always know that Hedwig seems to be like a rather extraordinary owl. Like people comment on it all the time. But like the way in which she cares for Harry is so like, that's just the sweetest thing. Like
I know.
It wasn't until this read in particular that I have appreciated this sentiment so much.
I know. And even the way he gets Hedwig, you're like, why? Just way to go for Harry for just happening to get this like extra special owl. And it's like, it's not that weird because Hagrid, man of beasts, is the one who picks it out.
Yes.
So it's like, of course he was good at picking out the exceptional owl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
you know?
Hagrid's like, no, I know what to look for.
That one.
That one. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Yes.
Yeah.
Because nobody else has a snowy owl either.
No one else
So, like,
does, yeah.
Yeah. Hagrid's definitely got an eye for it. So
He does.
Shout out to
Yep.
Hagrid.
Shout out to Hagrid. Hermione says, let's see, she said there's an interesting local history. She's in France spending some rare time with her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, maybe it feels like another Dumbledore is like, you know what? We got to get Hermione out of the country too. Harry can't go visit her either.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Can't have that.
Nope.
Send
Get
them
outta
away.
here.
Send
Go to
them
France.
away.
But she says there's some interesting local history of witchcraft here too. I've rewritten my whole history of magic essay to include some of the things I found out. So, one, there is at least a history of magic essay being written.
Yes.
Whether or not that's the witch burning or not.
Right. But it seems like whatever her local history is, unless she specifically brings it up as witch burning, it's like, well, how is that fitting in?
I know, exactly.
Different essay.
I know. Either it means that there were witch burnings in France, which doesn't seem like that would be the subject of their Hogwarts essay. Like, how is France history as relevant to Hogwarts? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still going with Flitwick on charms on that essay. It makes no difference at all. But
but it's a hill we're dying
But it is
on.
a hill I'm dying on. Here's the hill, is that Professor Binns isn't that whimsical.
He's not.
Okay?
He's just
not.
not. Yeah.
I won't be sold on it. But the interesting thing is that if she's learning about French magic history, it makes you wonder if she's learning about the Lestrange family in some capacity.
Yeah, which I mean, we know later when the Lestranges are brought up, it's not like Hermione is like locked and loaded with like any specific information, but like as of the Crimes of Grindelwald film, we would be aware that some of the notable French history would involve specifically the Lestrange family and Grindelwald's like temporary presence.
They're
there.
clearly a big deal when you
Yes.
see their like mausoleum.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, it's massive. There's a whole pavilion in there. Like,
Right.
yeah, they're doing something in French history.
right. So if you're learning about French wizarding history, their name is coming up.
Their name is coming up.
Hard
almost
stop. Yeah.
almost for sure. And you could even see why it might not come up with like Bellatrix, because like she only marries into the family.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas everyone else is, which is also one of those things. It's like, it felt like they put like, what's her name? Lestrange in Fantastic Beasts, Lita Lestrange in there to be like, oh, related to Bellatrix, but like also, no, she's not.
I know. Yeah, it's like one of those where it's like the very, very notable Lestrange character that we know is only Lestrange by marriage.
Right.
And is otherwise a black.
Right. So it was a black.
Yeah. So it's like, well, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, so we get to the end of Hermione's letter, which I mean, this is just like, my little team Hermione.
Yeah.
It does say love from Hermione.
Indeed.
It does.
Indeed.
Yeah. Love from
Hermione.
Love and from. Usually
Love
it's just
and
one
from.
or the other.
One or the other.
This
yeah.
time we got both.
From Hermione. That'd be so informal. From me.
Yeah, but also like love Hermione would seem like more romantic, more forwardly.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like a nice way to thread the needle. as it
Exactly.
were. Yeah.
Exactly. But Hermione's good at
from Hermione.
just
She's the cleverest witch of their year, but
exactly.
Yeah.
She's got away with words.
Yeah, she knows the workings of these things.
Yeah. Speaking of being very clever, Harry assumes that whatever this heavy package is going to be a large book full of very difficult spells, which eventually actually sounds like the type of thing that Harry would very much appreciate.
Yeah.
Because he could certainly use them at some point in time. But instead is a sleek black leather case with a broomstick servicing kit inside.
Yes. Very thoughtful gift from Hermione.
It is a very thoughtful gift.
Yeah.
Wow, Hermione.
Yeah.
Is how.
That's
how
the
she-
Jim Dale reading. Yeah.
Yeah. Harry whispered, unzipping the case to look inside. I just love the description of all this stuff, even though I'm trying to imagine what it would be like to actually receive it, because it says there's a large jar of Fleetwood's high finish handle polish, which is something that I like the thought of in theory, but like how often are you using it?
Well, I don't know, it's sort of like snowboard, like waxing your skis or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, let's see how can we continue.
Okay.
A pair of gleaming silver tail twig clippers, which I imagine is like fingernail clippers.
I imagine that as well, but it must be like a little bit more robust. That reminds me of just like pulling weeds or something. It's like, oh, this one's gone astray. Let me just click that into place here.
Give it a little clip.
Keep it,
but of course,
yeah.
you can only clip so many of these things because there are only so many of them.
Well, sure, yeah, but I suppose it's that makes it sound like a clipped one is still better than a Helter Skelter one.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good, excellent use of Helter Skelter.
Unless, of course, you're looking at the Firebolt in the movie, in which case more Helter Skelter, more better.
Yeah.
Ben, don't get me.
I know.
I hate the way they portray the Firebolt.
I think we have a whole chapter called the Firebolt.
Okay,
so,
well,
we
you know
can-
what?
we can-
It is not described in the book as it is showed in the movie.
Yeah, I understand.
And it
I
especially
understand.
doesn't have footrests.
Well, don't you worry, Jay. In chapter 11, you can just absolutely go.
I will.
off.
I'm going to get on my soapbox.
You can and should.
Broomsticks don't have footrests, Ben.
We look forward to it.
Okay.
It's going to be fun. Where was I going? Oh, then we have a tiny brass compass to clip onto your broom for long journeys.
Yep.
And a handbook of do-it-yourself broom care.
Yeah, which is like 3 pages, which says clip. Put wax on this part, clip those things. The compass goes here, moron.
Well, yeah, on some level, there's only so much that you can do to a
I
broomstick.
know, right? There we go.
Oh, man.
Oh boy, here we go. Just a quick reminder too that Harry was the youngest person in a century to be picked for one of the Hogwarts house teams. Of course, before that, it had to have been Dumbledore.
Had to be.
Had to be.
The
Yep.
timing is just too specific for
Yeah.
it not to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, Ben, whilst the Firebolt is, of course, horribly portrayed in the movie, the Monster Book of Monsters that Harry is about to open from Hagrid is a great example of a time the movie did it better, I think.
I agree with you. The prop design for the Monster Book of Monsters kind of being like the little gremlin-y looking wolfish spider type thing.
Yeah.
Is otherwise described as let's see here. He tore off the top layer of paper and glimpsed something green and leathery.
Yeah.
But before he could unwrap it properly, the parcel gave a strange quiver, and whatever was inside snapped loudly as though it had jaws.
Yeah.
This is kind of a funny one to come from Hagrid, especially just on the heels of Chamber of Secrets, where Harry just interacted with a book that could think for itself.
I know.
And
I
it's just
know.
like, not again.
Not again. I know. This book immediately seems like it has a mind of its own, which doesn't go with Mr. Weasley's instructions of like not trusting things you can't see where it keeps its brain. And like we literally just had a cursed book, and Hagrid was literally just the like suspect of.
I know.
The man opening the chamber. It's like, Hagrid, come on, dude.
Hagrid's safety or relationship with safety is lacking.
It is lacking. Yeah, there's no doubt. It also seems like, despite him picking out a great owl for Harry, he does not have an owl of his own, which is kind of surprising. He's just using a school owl.
It does seem kind of odd.
Yeah.
But maybe he tends to the school owls and just thinks of them as his own.
I mean, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. I bet that's
it. Still feels like he'd have his own personal delivery system.
I know. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scroot mail.
Scroot mail,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he hasn't invented those yet.
I know. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. But coming
Right.
soon.
Yeah. Let's see. Then he opens the book. I love how Hagrid just does not give him any additional information about the book at all. You know, it's just like completely out of context. Like, you might find this useful.
I know. This is classic Hagrid, though, who's of course excited about getting to tell one of his best friends in the wizarding world about his new teaching post, and is sort of like being oddly mysterious about it in a way that is not very helpful to Harry, who is trying to keep a low profile.
Right. Yes. Also, like, it is fun that the book like bites and stuff, but like if you're the writer of the book, like what on earth is the advantage of doing it this way?
I don't know.
You know, like, and what practical purpose does this serve?
I like to imagine that this is almost like the incontrollable nature of magic, where it's almost as if like by packing the kind of information that is in it like manifests itself into chompiness.
Yeah, I kind of like that explanation better. I also think it's funny that Hagrid makes them get this book, which I don't even think it ever talks about them reading. But like they've already got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is the first year course, which we know the textbooks last for years.
Right.
But like what were they using that book for before now when they actually have Care of Magical Creatures?
I know. This is another one of those really like kind of interesting questions where it's like 1,000 magical herbs and fungi could like just as easily be like a potions.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess it could be
guide.
multi-purpose.
Yeah, as herbology. So like maybe it's again one of those where it's like we're so used to having textbooks dedicated to specific classes, but if there's just like, you know, I mean, the wizarding population isn't absolutely massive, so maybe like knowledge has been kind of like distilled into, you know, like tomes of information that are reference guides for so many different applications.
I guess it could be for like Defense Against the Dark Arts in the early years.
That's true as well.
You're gonna like fight off an iguana or something.
An iguana, yeah, right. You never
that
know.
is mostly what Lupin ends up teaching about this year.
He does, yes. Like I mean, is it not the case that like Redcaps, Inky Punks, Grindylows are all in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so
there you go.
Maybe that's a piece of what's going on, you know, as well. Yep. But anyway, there's kind of just like a really special line there because you know he reads the little letter from Hagrid that says, you know, happy birthday. I thought you might find this useful. Harry says it struck Harry as ominous that Harry thought a biting book would come in useful, but he put Hagrid's card up next to Ron and Hermione's, grinning more broadly than ever. Yes. It's just very sweet and sentimental.
I know. It's like Harry's finally having a good birthday for once ever.
For once ever.
It's fantastic. But then he has one last letter, which has another big old plot device in it, which is the one from Hogwarts, which includes the Hogsmeade permission form.
Yes.
And goodness me, does Harry have a time getting this thing signed?
I know. Yeah, this is like a through line throughout the entire story.
I know.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be the massive bargaining chip, and I suspect that like even going into chapter 2 and the arrival of Aunt Marge, this was almost like the basis for a scenario where Harry tries to be amicable at all, because otherwise he has, in my personal opinion, no need to be polite or kind to Aunt Marge, who is otherwise just going to berate him for an entire chapter. Mm-hmm. So it's like what we need to do is like set some groundwork here for a world where it's like okay, you know,
we'll try.
Yeah,
we'll try.
We gotta have a reason why Harry is willing to put in some effort.
Yeah. But I also just love the introduction of Hogsmeade at all in this book, where it's like the first 2 years, Harry has really just been stuck at the castle.
Right.
And it's like now he has a new place to go. Where like there's new horizons out there for us to explore.
Yes. And in the way that I think that this one's delivered, because sometimes this happens in the wizarding world, and we'll see it like with the Azkaban guards, which will be referred to as the Azkaban guards until they're referred to as Dementors, at which point they'll just be referred to as Dementors for the rest of forever.
Yeah.
With the Hogsmeade, I do feel like the way that it reads is like it says, Harry pulled out the Hogsmeade permission form and looked at it, no longer grinning. It would be wonderful to visit Hogsmeade on weekends. He knew it was an entirely wizarding village, and he had never set foot there. This to me sort of reads a little bit as if, like, even though it's never been mentioned in the past, it doesn't feel like Harry is learning about Hogsmeade for the first time. Like, kind of similar to like the Fred and George teaching lock picking lessons on the side.
Clearly it happened.
Yeah, this is just sort of something like where the upperclassmen, you know, on the weekends are like, yeah, we're going to Hogsmeade, and, you know, and it's like Harry's like, next year that'll be fun.
It kind of seems like even when they finally get to do it, they're like, "Ooh, there's a Hogsmeade visit this weekend." It's like it's surprising to me that they're not just allowed to go like every weekend.
I know, yeah, you know? That does seem kind of unusual. It seems better for the Hogsmeade local economy to just have the students like funneling in. Like I know, like towns that are college towns are like barren wastelands during the summer when the students
know.
are out. So,
Yeah.
they certainly they hinge on that.
Yeah.
But of course, we also know the currency and the economics of the wizarding world are kind of goofy anyway.
Yeah, don't necessarily always make sense.
Yep.
But then let's see. I think it says he looks at the alarm clock. It's now 2 a.m. When this started, it was 1 a.m. So the act of opening these 3 envelopes took like an hour.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
I like to think that he's just been savoring
He's
it.
just been savoring it. Yeah.
The other thing I like to think though is that like it's very nice that his friends sent gifts that arrived like just as it ticked over into birthday land.
Oh, I know.
But like if he was sleeping and his window was shut,
as he would be like any other night.
right? Yeah. What
Yeah.
was our flump?
Yeah.
Earlier would have been like an awfully loud 3 owls collide with a window clang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A real scrunch or something.
Yeah, a scrunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this does basically get us to the closing sentiments of the chapter, which again kind of like reflect back to the opening sentiment there, which was that Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways, is how the chapter started, and here's how the chapter ends. Extremely unusual though he was at that moment, Harry Potter felt just like everyone else, glad for the first time in his life that it was his birthday.
Oh man, hits you right in the feels.
It really, really does. Like,
Yeah.
It's so hard to imagine, it's because birthdays for young kids are such special occasions. Like
I know.
I loved them so much. I looked forward to them from like my birthday's in October, and I would like in June. I'm like, Mom, can we start planning my birthday?
Yeah.
So it is just so sad to think that he got to 13 before he had like a proper birthday that
I know.
he was able to absorb.
Starting to hit the birthday circuit with my own kids here.
I know. Good
It's like
times.
all the times, yeah. But those kids are having such a blast. Like it's everyone's best day of the year.
Yes.
It's like, yep, not for Harry.
Not for Harry, I know.
Yep.
So anyway, gotta love that. But there we go, Jay. Do we have a review to close out the episode with?
We do, from Jeff S., who says, absolutely loving this. I was so happy to hear when you announced this podcast. I would always find the analysis of the text to be intriguing and insightful, especially when able to identify things that will come up later in the books you don't realize until rereading the series. My question is about the house point counting throughout the year. How do you think Dumbledore knows the exact events that happened at the Potters the night they are killed? There is no live account of what happened since Harry was just a baby with no memory. How does he know Lily stood in the way of Voldemort and acted on love? How does he know Harry's lightning scars from the killing curse since before Harry there wasn't a single account of someone surviving it? Sorry, there was
Ooh.
actually nothing about the house points there. But anyway,
Oh, that's
how
so
does
funny.
Dumbledore know about what happened in the house?
Okay.
Is the main question.
So I think it's a really good question, because you're right. Like essentially what's happening is like we have some measure of an account of how this particular evening went down, despite the fact that almost everything that happened inside of the house on this particular evening was atypical. Like it was unusual. It was not precedented.
Yeah.
To where it would be like, yes, of course, like priori incantatem, a thing I've seen before.
Right.
So it's tricksy, and we know that Dumbledore is not even the first person to go, because it would be horrid to imagine a world where Dumbledore like shows up and leaves baby Harry there for Hagrid to collect.
To bring back to him.
However, the instinctive response that I would have would kind of like fast forward us to like Half-Blood Prince and the cave, where like Dumbledore just sort of is able to like suss out where the entrance is, and that like a blood sacrifice is required in order to enter the cave.
Yeah.
And the description that he gives us is that like dark magic always leaves, or magic always leaves a trace, and especially dark magic.
Yeah.
And so what I almost imagine happens here is that Dumbledore leaves baby Harry on the Dursleys' doorstep, and at that point in time, now that Harry has safely been delivered, goes to examine the wreckage.
Yeah.
And whilst
Couldn't
there,
like suss it out.
yeah, and he's almost able to like perform some measure of like a recall or something, or dig into the dark magic trace that was like left in the space in their home.
Right.
And like what I almost imagine is like an echo of the scene, sort of like
Plays out.
like he's
Right.
like almost like a green hue appears, and he's able to like witness, like maybe not like visually.
Well, the
but
other
like
thing is that we also know that Snape has like begged for Lily's life at this point.
True.
And asked Voldemort to spare her.
Yeah, that's a good.
So
yeah.
we know that Dumbledore can at least figure out that Lily might have been offered the chance to live and then chose to die.
Yes.
Like that's on there. And
like even when Voldemort returns, he references it like this is old magic.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that, Voldemort says, like, he mentions, like, sacrificial love and says, like, it is old magic. I should have remembered. I forgot. And it's like, oh, did you? That was dumb.
That was a silly little
That was a silly little whoopsie. I forgot about it. Who knew?
Yeah.
But the fact that it is ancient magic that you could have known about suggests that, like, it has happened before.
True.
Right? Like,
yes.
Not necessarily that someone has survived the killing curse, because I think Harry is, like, unique in that way, but there must be some other kind of, like, sacrificial protection that can be cast even outside of the killing curse or something.
Yeah. No, I follow your logic there. So it's like even because I mean that's a little bit of what's happening after the Battle of Hogwarts, where it's like, you know, after Harry has died for everyone else, like none of the Death Eaters or Voldemort's spells can be like binding on the combatants of Hogwarts in any way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like their magic is like all kind of nullified if they intend harm on them.
Right.
Even if they're not just like casting like, you know, killing curse after killing curse.
Right. It's not just the killing curse. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's possible that like someone died for someone else and then like other spells just didn't work against them. And
yes.
that person wasn't like tried to be killed or something.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. So I think that probably you're right. Like there's a degree of like Dumbledore knowing that Snape would have asked for Lily's life to be spared, and knowing Lily and her kind of like noble nature, he may be able to just sort of like reverse engineer, being like, okay, well, the only way that Harry could have survived is if this very particular thing happened, and there's reason to believe why this very particular thing could have
because
happened.
Clearly something happened.
Right. Yes. Could be.
Yeah.
Yes, because clearly something happened, like something unusual happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and he also, you know, solely knows the prophecy. So there's that additional.
Yeah. There's also the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the marking and then the scar.
Yeah, the scar. So it's like what could he have done? Like clearly he was there to try and kill him and failed. How many explanations could there be that would have left a scar in this way?
Right.
Given the fact that I know Lily might have been offered a chance to live. Sus. I know the answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like when you've ruled out all of the possible, you have to start considering the impossible. And if there are small exceptions, you know, as to how the impossible can happen,
right?
Then it's like there's probably not that much left,
right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
In terms of explanation,
right? It's like However unlikely, that's all that's left. So it must be that.
It must be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's a great question otherwise, though, because I do think that's like an under-considered situation. Like Dumbledore is definitely this rather all-knowing entity. It feels at times within the wizarding world. He seems to be like privy to way more things than it ever seems like he should be. And sometimes I think we just take that at face value.
Yeah. Dumbledore knows because it's Dumbledore, and he just kind of knows everything.
Yeah, because
except for the things he doesn't, because plot reasons.
Because plot reasons.
Yeah.
He guesses.
Yeah, what are the other
good.
Horcruxes? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe
they're probably these three things. Oh, they were. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We don't know all the. We need his work cited. Is what
exactly.
We need.
Yeah. Where's your works cited, Dumby?
Can you show your notes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want the research paper that is Tom Riddle's Horcruxes and where to find them.
Yeah. I guess he would just cite like Winky's memory.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pensive.
Yeah. Pensive thing is so useful.
It's very useful.
Good.
A lot jam-packed with info.
Jam-packed, yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much as ever. I think that concludes this week's episode.
That concludes Chapter 1 Owl Post. Although, be on the lookout because we don't know yet if and when we get the audio from Boston. We might just re-upload a second version of this episode.
Right,
that hopefully you'll be able to enjoy.
Right.
And listen to the crowd from Boston. It was so much fun.
Hey, speaking of the crowd from Boston, we do have you have on your phone, do you not, like a small audio file we can play?
I do. You know what? We can play that right here. I think you're all gonna love it. It's a well-known audio clip.
It is. Ready and go.
Not me! Not Hermione! You!
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you, Bostonians.
Thank you, Boston.
So sweet.
Oh, man. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Make sure you join us next week for Chapter 2, Aunt Marge's Big Mistake Through the Griffin Door.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.